Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and today my guest is Bronwyn Holm from Australia. And Bronwyn is talking about a super cool product that she has developed or discovered. Did you develop it? Did you create it?
Well, there's a bit of a history here, Amy. It started with my great grandfather in the late 1880s, who was the head winemaker at a very famous winery here in Australia called Heritage, and it's called Dalwood today for all you tourists who make it to Australia to the wineries. And he came from Denmark, and he brought his microbes with him. He was actually the one who was able to get the Australian wine industry out into Bordeaux in France for the big wine competitions, and they had won quite well over there, and they still do. That same winery still wins today. Like it's a premium wine industry. So this has been around in our family and everywhere else. My grandparents just would grow food in a tin, anything that would hold dirt. It could have been an ice cream container. It could have been anything. If it held dirt, it had something growing in it. And they were always actually able to make this particular tea. I never paid much attention to it. I just thought it was part of gardening. And I thought everybody did it. I just thought everybody, if you were growing things, you would have this in your, yeah. Um, The thing is, though, you have to use it straight away because it's a living microbe, and the microbes will die in 36 to 48 hours. That's why if you've got worm juice or
Mhm.
worm tea, is that what you call it in America?
Yep.
Yeah. So worm tea, if you don't use it straight away, you can't store it in like a jar or something because it will die. There's nothing to suspend it.
Mhm.
So I was lucky to work with a soil scientist who is able to suspend. So the IP is able to suspend the microbes. And that means they can live up to 10 years in a bottle that we now know of.
Wow.
And all of our bottles, our vats, everything's tested by a third party down in New South Wales. And we've got batches and everything's tracked and traced. And of course, there was a time I've always been interested in growing plants. In fact, I remember when I was 14, I used to have ferns and mostly maidenhairs and vines of all sorts of things on a windowsill. I used to have like a little bookcase, and at the top of the bookcase under the windowsill, all my plants. And I was personally responsible for my parents' plants. I used to go out and water them every Friday afternoon after school. Um, it's just in my DNA, I think.
Yeah.
And I come from an area called the Lockyer Valley, which is west from Brisbane in Queensland. That's my ancestry is from that area. I think it's about 5 or 6 generations um,
Wow.
in the same region. And the Lockyer Valley is known for is one of Australia's food bowls. So all my grandparents' friends were farmers. My grandfather was, in fact, a tinsmith, which is an old-fashioned plumber, and all his clients were farmers. Everybody knew me as Alice's and Dick's granddaughter. And to this day, my last name Home has a resonance in this whole region. I could go to any old school farmer, not the young ones today, because I'm probably old enough to be your mum. I could go to any farmer and say, "Hey, I'm Bronwyn Home." And they said, "What are you selling?" "Oh, well," and I'll take a bottle. I don't even have to explain it because I was just lucky that I come from a family that has an extended reputation of doing good in communities. However, um, working with the working with the microbes, um, somewhere along the way, I realized, holy moly, we're in trouble. we are in serious trouble. I'm looking at from the point of view of Australia, and the more I see what's going on, I'm thinking, America, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. Now you've just got Kennedy that's come in with Maha, but good health comes from the ground up. If you've got low pH in your soils, and you do, and we do here, farmers can barely grow a thing. They're growing nowhere near what we used to grow in the 60s and the 70s, even with all this, the agronomist support, the university sparkling new thing done on Wi-Fi, and all the very expensive products that you can now get from big ag business. So we're all talking about big pharma in the last 4 years and the discussions that came out of that, but no one has been talking about big ag. So, the more I learn about what's happening to farmers financially. I know here in Australia we have 15 a night. So you've got to remember the whole population of Australia is the equivalent to one major city in America. So the whole of Australia is like the population of Chicago or Los Angeles.
Mhm.
All right. So we're actually a small nation. But out of that small nation, we have 15 farmers a night not going home to their families. Can't face what's on the computer, can't face what's happening in the fields, whatever the reason. And we have 5 a month who've left the planet. And you multiply that by 12 months a year, that's a lot of people. And that's not including the people who attempted and survived.
Mhm.
They're the successful ones. So here we are. We got a pH of 4 across our soils, can barely grow a thing. Our freezers in Aldi, I don't know if you've got Aldi over there, it's a bit like Costco, I suppose, are filled with food from France. Our food freezers in Coles are from China. Our seafood comes from Thailand and Vietnam. What the hell? Australia was one of the food bowls to the world.
Right. Well,
What
and
happened
Australia
here?
is surrounded by water all over.
That's by sea.
Oh.
There's a lot of blue tape, red tape, and green tape.
Mm.
Government overreach into small businesses. Um, Interference by policies that look good on paper for people who sit at a desk, but who have nothing to do with feet on the ground, haven't got a clue.
Right.
And this is happening. So, Amy, I said to you, I'm going to teach. I'm going to do some teaching today. I'm going to teach a biology lesson 101. And I know this might be, it could even be going against the grain of a lot of people. But if they just sort of like give me a second and so we can join the dots on this, because I think there'll be this is some food for thought, dare I say.
Food for thought.
So
Wow.
what happens here? So a lot of the seeds people are buying, if you're not in a organic seed buying situation, most seeds that are used are dipped in neonicotinoid, which is a human carcinogenic solution. And that's to make sure the seed, it actually kills the life of the seed. So it's not a living seed. It's a mechanical process of where it takes root and grows sickly. And the reason why it's designed to do that is so that there's not a second generation of growth from the next produce. So if you, for example, a seed dipped in neonicotinoid, let's just say cucumber, right? Now you might get the first generation, and then you take one of the fruit, take the seeds out, dry it out, and then you'll plant those. They won't take root and grow.
Mm. Okay.
So That's one reason. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And hence, that's the subject of another time when I'll talk about how seeds are a commodity for the future. If you've got virgin, organic, or heritage heirloom seeds,
Hmm.
they'll be worth gold in the future. Now, when you plant that seed, it's got to be planted in something to grow. If you have a seed on your desk, it's not going to grow.
Right.
It has to be in something. So if it's grown in a chemical, which a lot of the food is
Mhm.
around the world,
Sure.
called NPK or nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, those chemicals are in the tissue culture of your food. So you eat that, so now you're eating chemicals. Many community gardeners, they will throw big chunks of horse manure or chicken manure all over the tops of their soil without actually working it and making soil. They think they just put it on top and it'll eventually soak through. Well, you're eating nanoparasites, which are so small, they're as tiny as the strand of a DNA, and they can pass through the blood-brain barrier. Not healthy. And there's a whole movement out there of people looking at detoxing. Then if you grow your food in living microbes, that's also in the tissue culture. And the living microbes are the same as your ancient gut and brain health. So you're supposed to have this here. It's like the microbes that you have in a rainforest. So when you go into a really deep rainforest, and you can feel the coolness on your face, you can, it's because it's cool and you can smell the sweet, musty smell. And if you touch the soil, it's cool and moist. That's living microbes in there. And that's what EarthFood is. It's rainforest in a bottle, basically. So when we use EarthFood, we mix it with water and then we just spray it along the leaves very quickly. It's no big deal. The leaf structure changes its molecular structure, cellular molecular structure. So a healthy plant has oblong shaped, and a healthy structure is hexagon and a sick plant is oblong. Now, insects can discern the difference. If I was to get a hunk of, I don't know, just say you had a steak off the barbie and it's, you just throw it out in the backyard or something. In the morning, it'll be covered in insects. So insects are designed to clean up the sick and dying and the dead.
Hmm.
When I die, and if I'm buried, I'm actually something like about 53 minerals, which go back into the soil. The microbes will break me down, so I'm part of the soil.
Mhm.
It'll take some time, but that's what they're designed to do. And the insects are the first generation of decay. So the insects will get in and break it all down to a structure that the microbes can then turn into minerals. So first of all, we've got the leaf structure changing. Now we've got a better immune build up for the plant. Now we talk about the stems. If you think of trace minerals and selenium, which by the way are made by living microbes, nothing else makes that. Trace minerals and selenium. So selenium, silica, glass. Have you ever picked up a pile of like a glass, a mirror, a big mirror or something? How heavy it is, or a piece of glass, how heavy it
Right.
is? That's the silica. Silica gives weight. So the selenium in the stem of the plant has guts and has weight and strength, and the leaves have structure. So you'll have lettuces that grow up like that, not like that.
Okay.
So and that's what gives you the crunch in your food. It also gives you the taste in your food. So you used to go to Nana's place and she'd make you a tomato sandwich, and you just think, oh, I just love my tomato sandwiches. But you don't get that today because they're not grown on living microbes. Now, if you went to a naturopath or someone today, the first thing they're going to do is check your minerals for the foundation of your health. They'll be saying, oh, you need more zinc, you need more magnesium, let's look at your manganese or your boron or whatever, okay? That comes from the soil through the microbes. The microbes actually create the minerals. Have you
Oh.
ever thought what soil is? Soil is just minerals. If it comes from a volcano or whether it's a whole pile of debris that's decayed over time, it's still minerals.
Mm.
We are minerals. Everything's minerals.
Wow.
The difference between all of this is that by the time the microbes go down the stem and into the roots become dense, thick, and strong, and they make the sugar for the microbes to live.
Mm.
And then the microbes will then unlock all the nutrients in the soil. All the nutrients in the soil. It's a God-given thing. It's all there. The problem is we have used chemicals and desiccants like glyphosate and organophosphorus, which lock up the soil. We have chemicals in the air that lock up the soil. We've got like an acid rain, for example, which we all have all over the world. We have bastardized the tops of the soil. So all the things there to protect the soil's all been removed. And now you've got a whole pile of weeds and pesky vines and pesky trees even that not meant to be there, but they grow because they have to, Mother Nature puts things in quickly to protect the skin.
Okay.
That's where we get weeds from. If you have chocolate brown fertile living soil, you don't get pesky weeds and vines. You don't get things like fire ants and other pesky critters because they, if you think about it, they like dry, crumbly, dusty, dead dirt. And for
Right.
all those people who say to me, oh, but I've seen them, we've got wet soil. And yeah, but dig down
Right.
10
Get on
or
the
20
surface.
minutes, yeah, like this far, and it's as dry as a bone. So, like if every problem we have right now is because we've killed off the microbe. So the microbe doesn't live in water, doesn't live in the sun, doesn't live in high levels of oxygen, and doesn't live in nitrogen. So what is the very thing we're told to use in our gardens and pot plants?
Right.
Nitrogen. You won't have a living thing going on in that under your feet
Hmm.
because we've killed it. And then you wonder why. Think about this. So if you spray, just say you've got a fertilizer, because that's what we've been taught to do
Hmm.
for the last 120 years by the big ag, right? They say, oh, you need fertilizer.
Got to feed
So
that.
you go and you buy a product. You put that in the soil. Right there is a problem because as I've explained, the microbes unlock all the nutrition for the plant from the soil. That's for the eating structure of the plant.
Mm. Okay.
On the other side, you've got a drinking structure of the plant. Now, a drinking structure is for water.
Hmm.
So why is it everything that we're told to put into that soil is water soluble?
Oh, interesting.
Help to, yeah, because what happens now is you've got all these chemicals going up into the drinking structure of the plant. Right now, you've got a sick and dying plant.
Hmm.
Now you've got insects. Now you go and get an insecticide. That actually makes the plant sicker. Don't get me wrong; these chemicals make plants look good and they perform well, but it's forced input. It's forced steroids input to make the plant look pretty and look good. But
Right.
it will die in 3 months. So now you've got the insecticide, and then next thing you know, you've got weeds growing because now we're killing the soil. So you've got insecticide, now you get a herbicide. Now now you've got desecration. That's like everything's dried out in the soil.
Right.
Now your soil becomes compact. Now you've got to go and buy a wetting agent to make things go. In the meantime, you've got floods. In the meantime, you know, the plant's struggling. So then they say use more fertilizer. So you go and get more fertilizer. And then you get insects, and then you get weeds, and then you got dead soil, more fertilizer. It's a repeat business model, folks. And you're stuck in it.
Yeah.
Whereas the living microbe, put them in, that's it. Got a healthy plant, hardly any weeds, no bites, no insects in your food, no holes in your lettuces and your kale and whatever. And
Wow.
you get big fat tomatoes without stings, no grasshoppers, no lawn grubs. It's
Wow.
amazing because Mother Nature's at work, not man. Mm.
I mean, so I mean, it's feeding the soil and it's feeding the
It's
soil, which
feeding the
will
soil.
create it
So,
would
okay,
what's
people say to
happening.
me, where does the nitrogen come from? Well, the microbes will come up to the surface and they'll bring the nitrogen from the air. It's called atmospheric nitrogen. We're actually breathing, you and I right now, we're breathing 78% nitrogen. The microbes will make tiny nanoholes in the soil. That's called fluctuation. There you go. There's a scientific term for you, fluctuation. And
Wow.
what that means is that it's aerated. So
Mhm.
there's air through there. Now, when it rains, we've got percolation. There's another technical term. And the soil will absorb the water and hold it. You will save 70% of water usage. And because you're working with Mother Nature in a God-given way, you will get 40% more in weight. So if you're a farmer, you would get 40% more in your bottom line on your bank statement.
Right.
If you're a gardener, you'll get 40% more in yield, a 40% bigger rows, 40% bigger tomatoes. It's just on and on it goes. It's life, it's living, it's a living food, living soil, and it helps to clean up the water in the soil. And that's what I call living soil as well. It's all living. Yeah.
So when you're saying that the plants are healthier, you say you would I we often hear nutrient dense, but they would be more than nutrient dense. They're literally dense, like they're heavier
Heavier,
because they're
heavier
full of
indeed. So here's something. If you're growing broccoli microgreens with living microbes, you get way more of a compound called sulforaphane. That kills cancer. So why isn't that being put out there?
right.
Is that against a business model as well?
I
If
mean,
the food is
we're sold microgreens as like cancer fighting. At least broccoli microgreens we're sold that, but so if they are grown with the microbes, then they're going to be even more
dense,
okay.
yeah, yeah. And like your food, like I come from a background of food is medicine. I'm a keynote speaker around different around the globe in different countries. Food is medicine. And even your weeds, good weeds like purslane, has a high level, especially if you put EarthFood on, it has a very high level of omega-3. It's got more than salmon.
Wow.
It's all there. I know, it's all there.
Wow.
I have a great recipe for a weed pesto. If someone wants it, let me know and I'll send you the recipe.
That's so cool. I mean, I've heard that purslane is really it's really nutrient dense and it's better for you than spinach. Is that am I remembering that right? It has a lot of nutritional value, but so to add the earth food, it would be even more potent.
It's more potent.
Okay.
I'm also about to do a podcast early next year with a microbiologist research um, person or doctor or whatever professor, and he is going to go through how the microbes get into the tissue culture and stay in the tissue culture, and how the roots absorb the nutrition into the cells, and then the cells become full, basically, of the nutrition. So some plants, like, for example, like sulfur, and like apricots, for example. And then you've got things like, oh, I just off the top of my head, you've got a lot of the vitamin K that comes out, like spinach has got that in it. And it's not just a matter of us eating fresh food. Those days are gone, folks. The World Health Organization did a review on fresh food in two major food distribution companies here in Australia, in one of the states called Victoria. And they concluded that 67% of the fresh food had no nutritional value.
Like zero?
Zero. It's biomass
Oh.
because it's not grown with living microbes. So I've got to put this to you. If we have no microbes in the soil and no plankton in the sea, there is no humans.
Mm.
Yeah, so because they are the beginning of all that is. You want oxygen in the air? Well, you've got to have living soil for a living tree to breathe, to do
Right.
the photosynthesis. You've got the plankton in the sea. That's all part of that same system. So even us breathing and living and eating and all the rest of it,
Mhm.
we are a system within a system, which is part of a bigger system. If one of those parts falls away, goes to hell in a handbasket,
Right.
we are in trouble. And we're coming to that point now. And that's why MAHA is important in America. You've got Save Seed through Conscious Planet with Sadhguru in India. You've got me here in Australia.
Yeah, we do.
Fighting my little fight. No, there's a whole movement here, and people say, "Oh, yeah, we do regenerative soils, and we do composting, and we do this, blah 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 blah." But okay, that's great if you have the space, the time, and the money to build soil.
Mhm.
What you'll do in 3 to 5 years, EarthFood can do in 4 to 9 months by just spraying. Number one, it saves time. Number two, it saves money. Number three, it produces. So it delivers. The thing that farmers keep saying, they want better they want better fields, they want better crops, they want bigger outcomes, and they want a market. The
Right.
market in Australia, a lot of the things, I'm looking around the shops, there is no Australian food there. And I bet you if you looked around in your shops, you'd see there's very little American food in there. And in fact, the big push in America, and we've all heard Mr. Kennedy, Senator Kennedy say this, that, the faux foods or the ultra processed food, if it comes in a box or a bottle, it's not living food.
Mhm.
It's a food mass. It's a food substance. So what is working on your DNA? What is working on your brain? Is it vitamins? Is it minerals? Is it selenium and trace minerals? Probably not.
Ooh.
The food's been destroyed. And right now you can buy 3D printed chicken nuggets at one of your local takeaway stores, quite big ones.
That sounds so
They're there
appetizing the
now.
way that you say it, Bronwyn.
3D printed chicken nuggets, they all look the same. Have you noticed? How about this? There is a burger, and I won't say brand names in case I get thrown in jail, but there is a plant-based, what do you call it? You don't call them hamburger mince, you call them beef burger, grounded beef
Hamburger? Sure, ground beef. Yes.
hamburger. Okay, ground beef. that looks like food, tastes like food when you cook it, but it's not food. What it is a substance that's been boiled and boiled to the consistency of toothpaste. Then it's cut with steel blades to give it texture. And then lab-made blood is put into it, so it's got the taste. Now, just hold that thought right there. Side note, the people making artificial food today come out of the oil industry. So what that means is they're very, very clever, extremely clever, not just in how our nose and our eyes and our taste buds respond to food with our brain, but they also understand the psychology of
Mhm.
why we choose a food. And the beautiful photography, the beautiful videos, the ads that, oh, beautiful. And when you eat it, it tastes fantastic. It'll be the best burger you'll ever have, but it's poison, absolute poison. So going back to this point over here, I was talking about this food having lab-made blood in it.
Right.
That's where you get the taste and the smells and all of that. That's the psychology of why we eat.
Hmm.
And then they put food glue in it to hold it all together, package it beautifully, beautiful colors because it's all part of the eye brain connection.
Right.
We go in there and go, oh, look at this. And it's plant-based. Oh, I'm going to try this. And you take it home. Oh, it tastes amazing. And then you keep going and you're buying. But I can tell you what, I'm sorry to say, it will take you to the lowest level of your health you'll ever have. Because you're not feeding your ancient gut and brain microbes. These are the ones you were born with. You actually have to feed them. And that comes from things like stews and whole foods that are from nature that are alive, real food. A point here is when we eat this food, it feeds those microbes. A lot of the food we're eating right now is starving those microbes. If these microbes are upset in the biome, it affects your mental health. It affects your whether you put on weight or whether you lose weight. It affects the quality of the dental health.
Mhm.
It affects every part of your being because remember, we are a system within a bigger system. The
Mhm.
systems are breaking down. We're breaking down. How many people do you know who are on medication for a mental health problem? I can tell you, they start. Actually, I just read an article by Dr. Mark Hyman in, where is he from? He's from Cleveland Clinic. Okay. He's just done this review, this assessment of 97% of juvenile um, prisoners in jail where they changed their diet from ultra processed food to living foods, reduced their violence within their personalities by 97% because
Oh,
they're feeding, yeah, because they're feeding the ancient biome. You
right.
look after that ancient biome, you'll look younger, your teeth will be great, your eyes will be great, your brain will be great. One of the reasons why we're so sick today is the organophosphorus in our foods and glyphosate. Glyphosate, part of the active ingredient in glyphosate is formaldehyde. So we're being
Ah,
poisoned by microdoses of these chemicals every single day. If you had, not even talking about sugar, I'm just talking about wheat and oats. So if you have, say, a cereal for breakfast or toast, Maybe you had a little snack, like a little cakey thing with your coffee in the morning. Maybe you've had pasta for lunch. Maybe you've had, a cookie with your cup of tea in the afternoon. And then dinner is rice and a curry or something. You've been microdosed at 5, 6 times a day right there.
With formaldehyde. Is that what you're saying?
The glyphosate, yeah. So formaldehyde's in the glyphosate that they put in food. Here's something to think about. If they spray the fields with glyphosate and you're not allowed to go back in the fields for 5 days, although some farmers push the Mexicans in, I hear, the next day. But they will run a machine across to harvest the very next day. That's your oats. And there's one company in America who's is probably the worst in the world for this. And it's giving people dementia, autoimmune disease, autism, ADHD, allergies, gut irritability problems, anything to do with the nervous systems like Lewy disease, MS. Look, you know them all. There's a list a mile long. And this is the problem. Now, they are changing the languaging. They're trying to even change the brand because there's more court cases now than ever before. Thanks to Bobby Kennedy. He's pushed that button and he fights it. And rightly so, in my opinion. For way too long, we have been lied to. We have been used as the ATM for the corporatocracies that rule our food, our seed production, our food distribution, our farmers. They've got them by the scruff of the neck, and the land. Because as soon as the farmers can't produce, they come in and buy the land from them. So you just look about over America, through your different states, there's ways of doing it. You go to your councils, I think you call them councils there, or you call them something like that. And you just find out who owns the land in your state. You'll find there's probably on farmland more corporate ownership than farmers now.
That's not
And
cool.
they're probably not farming anymore. So we are at a tipping point for food security, and this is my big push. Let's talk about food security. We are at a tipping point. If you can't get living food, which we can't, you don't get healthy food anymore. I just said what happened to Victoria.
Right.
And you would be worse there, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. So what are you going to eat?
What
You're
indeed?
going to eat ultra processed foods. Looks like food, tastes like food, but it's not food. You're going to have more mental health. You're going to have more diseases, more sicknesses, more cancer, more stuff we don't want. You won't own land. You won't have farmers in business anymore. And I can tell you, I think it's Jeff Bezos who has 15 towers of food growing towers in China. That food's not for us. That food will be for the top 1%ers. You'll be eating processed foods
That tracks.
and drugs.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Oh, we're the same here, don't you worry. It's all over the Western world, all over the world. And yeah, it's a very serious time. And this is why I go on. So in Australia, after World War II, we had this thing called victory gardens.
Mhm.
Everybody had to grow. Did you have victory gardens there?
Yep.
Yeah. So everybody grew something. You grew it on the footpaths, you grew it in the backyard, the back steps, in pots, like my grandparents. And that's why I think there was a thing about growing food in anything that would hold dirt
Right.
in our family.
Yep.
Um, so that's what we have to go back to. And people say, oh, I don't know where to buy soil. Oh, it's too hard. And oh, I've just had a hip replacement. So I can't get down and do it. You know what? That's because you're doing it the way we've been taught for the
Right.
last 120 years. You need to unlearn all of that and start putting the microbes back in the soil. You put the microbes back in the soil, they do all the work for you. They do the aeration, they look after the plants, they keep the weeds down, they keep the insects away. The pesky insects. You want beneficial insects. You want the beneficial insects and the pollinators and the bees. The microbes, earth food microbes vibrate on a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz. So if you did this all over your backyard, you could lie on your backyard and reset your nervous system in 20 minutes. It's called grounding. And that's what microbes do. It can help the density of the roots. So your whole grass is greener and thicker and richer and no bugs, and you don't need to kill it with, glyphosate kind of products or whatever. Um,
Right.
you can smell it. I'll just prove a point. Can you wait? Oh, it's over here. So that's EarthFood. YourEarthFood.com. Watch
Okay.
this. I'd like to see you do that in one of your hardware stores. I just breathed in my bacterium vacci bacteria, and that went straight to my brain through my blood from my lungs, and that's a natural antidepressant. I
Oh,
know. Isn't Mother Nature so good to us? It's all there.
oh my goodness.
All look, I'm just the custodian. This is God's gift to all of us inside here is God's gift. I'm just the custodian. I'm just the educator. I don't claim fame for this at all. All I'm doing is sharing the message.
Mm,
Unfortunately, it is a brand because I have to go down that pathway to be able to get people to understand what's happening in our world.
mm.
Now, I really want to go to America in July in 2025. I hope I didn't date this podcast with that date.
Oh no.
I actually want to go to the White House. I want to speak with Bobby Kennedy. I want to share this with him. Right now, I flew to Canberra only just last week, and as soon as I was there, people were texting me, "Can you come speak to our group? Can you come and talk to us here?" I
Yeah.
wasn't doing that. I just went for a meeting, and then I ended up doing 4 big talks.
Oh,
But yeah, no, there's no rest for the wicked, right? I'm very naughty.
oh my goodness.
So this meeting was with farmers because what people don't realize is people say, oh, I make a compost tea. Well, you know what? That's okay. Um, but if you're not, but people just don't have access to be making things like that. I'm trying to make life easy. Let's get our victory gardens growing again, easy, fast, full of health and nutrient density, and move on. Harvest. I can teach people how to feed a family of 4, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week from a patch like I'm saying 4 by 4 meters, but what's that? I don't know, 12 feet by 12 feet,
Yep,
something
you're
like that.
right.
Would that
Yeah,
be about right?
three times the, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's like a tiny, tiny patch. And I can tell people how to grow it because with the microbes will produce. So if you start harvesting a leaf or 2 leaves off, say, 6 heads of lettuce to make a salad, because you got 4 people, remember? Um, by the time you come back the next day, you've got 2 new leaves growing from the inside of the lettuce. It just keeps remaking itself because that's the way it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful, isn't it? It doesn't stop there. Yeah, we're at a tipping point. I want to get to the White House. I want to help the health in America because, after all, Australia is practically like, I don't know, the 57th state of America or something. I don't know everything you do. You sneeze over there and we catch the cold. Um, so I figured I can bang on like a crazy woman over here, but if I can't make that influence or make that difference in something to do with America, it's just some lady going off over here. For some reason, Australians have always upheld a lot of things that happen in America with American personalities,
Hmm.
even some of the politics. We are deeply interested in your politics here. We are probably more interested in your politics than Americans because it affects us. The decisions that are made in your White House affect us here
Oh,
because we are your allied partner, and um, good or bad doesn't matter. It just is. And we've got this drying out happening on the planet.
right.
Whether it's man-made or natural, it doesn't matter to me. It's happening, and we've got to stop this. So the living microbes will allow water to percolate. Now, I don't know, Amy, if you heard yesterday, um, I was made aware that coffee farmers in Brazil uh, have had these massive floods, and coffee prices have just gone through the roof,
Oh
and
my,
there's a shortage. But
right.
you talk about any other food source, it's the same
Right.
because the ground is dead. The ground can't absorb water, so everything floats on top. It
Mhm.
spreads the pesky weeds and the pesky insects like fire ants
Mhm.
because they just make little boats and they just float along. Incredible, those things. Yeah, and so the big thing about Sadhguru in India, who has also just come back from WHO and COP16, he did a big talk over there about how water security is reflected from soil health.
Right.
So if you think we've got a food security issue, wait till we talk about water security.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. Um, so I remember when we were talking before, we were talking about my crappy soil, which is a red clay, and you were saying that if I sprayed the microbes on my soil, you said it would probably take a few months or maybe 6 months or something, but it would literally start growing things.
Yeah, so if you're doing a soil rehab, it'll probably do 4 months, really. But you could actually spray that in your soil, start planting straight away, and you'll see the effects straight away. You'll see the effects within the first week. I will often do a talk where someone's bought product from the talk, and then they come to my next talk a week later, which might be like in another town because it like in regions.
Mhm.
And they will stand up and give a testimonial after 1 week. That is so common.
Oh my God.
And honestly, I just can't, I just cannot express to people you could be the world's laziest gardener, have the best produce and the best health from the ground up.
Mhm.
And you'll have water, you'll save water, and it is just it's beyond, but you know what, it's a spiritual thing, really. It is like being part of what's meant to be there, and the more you work with it, get your hands dirty in
Mhm.
the mix,
It's better for them.
the more it starts talking to you, like kind of like you hear angel whispers kind of thing. And you only have to do it like, well, now it takes me, I work 7 days a week, 15-hour days, so it only takes me. And so at night time under floodlight, I'm working on my urban backyard, and I have 5 big garden beds and about 60 pots of dwarf trees, from almond trees, persimmon, got banana, Cavendish bananas. We've got grapes, kiwi fruit, male and female. We've got a beehive because you'll have bees because the microbes of 7 to 12 hertz is the same as a bee's wing when it makes the honey antibacterial. They are attracted, like attracts like.
Oh my
You'll
God.
have flowers. You'll have the bees pollinating. It's the Garden of Eden again. We have to go back to that.
We have to go back to that. We need,
Yeah.
and it just seems like, um, it seems like a no-brainer. But so why? Oh, I don't even want to get into that because that's going to be all political. It just seems like a
Well, we could do a
no-brainer. I'll leave
political.
it
We could do a
at
political next.
that.
We could do a political podcast next time if you like, because I've got lots to say on that. But I won't this time. This is just a little nice howdy doody.
Little taste. Oh my goodness. So what is how okay, so this was you said your grandfather, great grandfather?
Great great grandfather in the
Great grandfather.
1880s. Yeah, this was very common. It was a very common thing. It's not made with manure, so vegans like it, and different religious factions who make sure that they only have,
The purest,
vegan lifestyles.
sure.
Um, yeah, so it's perfect for all of that. Oh, look, I've done the hard yards. I mean, there's another story I'll tell you, and you already know because we had a little chat earlier, but about that big ag company that's been chasing us down. Anyway, each one of these, like that's $1 million right there across the bottom. So we're 100% USDA certified organic, OMRI EcoCert, Southern Cross, which is here in Australia, it's the big one. We're Australian Organics standards, Carbonate, Regenerate standards. We're International Trade Association. We're part of the International Vegan Association. We got so many. We've really done the hard yards to give people commercial confidence because no
Right,
one's,
right,
like, oh yeah,
right.
yeah. And
Why would I use your product?
yeah, I know. And I'm female and I'm old lady. And, it's like, why would I use that? So I got to back everything else up because this
Sure.
industry is, I've got to say it, it's very, if I was a man, if I was a tall man, I'd get a lot of attention, but I'm a short lady and I don't get much at all. So I had to go and do it this way because then if I'm not talking to them, well, this
Got
says a
witnesses.
lot.
Yeah, you've got backing.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, we also have an international harmony code, which means we can send it anywhere in the world except probably China and Russia. And yeah, we're distributors in America. If anyone wants the hand up, great, happy about that. I'm hoping that I can make a difference to Americans for their health and their well-being, and that you do have a better outcome for your soil health because if you don't have the soil health, we are in so much trouble. We really, really are. All countries, Holland, Australia, I have New Zealand. We're going to New Zealand in February. We're opening up a distributorship there, and the farmers are screaming out for help, absolutely screaming. We've got people in Fiji, we've got people in Bordeaux. So here's the story. We have a what's it called? A farmer west of Alice Springs in the desert, and it turned the ancient, dead, dusty soil into chocolate brown living soil in 4 months.
Mm.
And he was able to grow more food than he ever had in 20 years. And now he's sending it off to the church community kitchens. He's never had that. And all it did was change what he's doing and put the microbes back in the soil and cover the soil, always have the soil covered. So he had sugarcane mulch all over it, about this much, and that's helped. We've had a farmer down in South Australia who was growing unmanipulated vineyards. So now he's got one bottle of wine being sold in France for €1,000 per bottle because the flavor's so full.
Oh my gosh.
That company came out to Australia and they bought up his next production in advance. So I'm a keynote speaker in hemp and regenerative agricultural conferences, and I'm talking to hemp farmers, and we're part of a massive global project that's coming up in the next year.
Mm.
And the reason being is because we can get more weight. So I used to say to hemp farmers, if you're getting like $1,800, it's AUD, a ton for hemp, if you got 40% more on that, would you be interested in talking to me? And they go, yeah, yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah. It's like, it's a
Wow.
no-brainer, you know?
Wow.
Um, yeah, there is so much to it. And you can always see some really good articles on yourearthfood.com. Yourearthfood.com has a section there in articles. I write articles on things you wouldn't normally see. It's not how to grow a bigger rose because there's heaps of other people who'll tell you how. I'm more interested in how do you stop fire ants? How do you, things that you wouldn't normally see. And one of my articles took the eye of Professor Joshua King in Florida University, who was absolutely unequivocal, wrote a letter to the Queensland government here and said, this is unethical, immoral, what you're doing, treating the fire ants. That's another story, and we'll have to talk about that another time. But yeah, there's lots of things going on. So we're at the face of it all. We are the change in the wind that's coming. And look, there is no other product like EarthFood. There is nothing like it. And like I say, I'm just the custodian and the educator. Once people know what's going on, you cannot not know.
Right.
And now it's personal choice. What
Mm.
are you doing? You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem that we're going through right now.
Right. And so you're saying there's not another product like Earth Food, not even close. So this is okay. So this has been in your family for generations. And so what is the reason that you are, I mean, I'm sure that I know the answer to this, but can you say it? Like why are you continuing this tradition? Like what is it for you that you are carrying this on? Because you could have said, I would rather be making chocolate or something, whatever. But but
I'd
you're
rather be on a
continuing this,
Queensland beach.
right? But here you are working 15-hour days, 7 days
Because
a week.
I know all my school friends are retired and they've all traveled around, done the cruises to the Arctic and they've done the renovations to the house and, they've got their grandkids to play with and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
Because you know what? There will be, you and I, we're all going to be in a box in the ground. Give it a couple of decades, right? Whatever it is. It's not about us. It's about our kids and our grandkids. The legacy that's left behind after all this destruction is like what you see in those movies
Mhm.
where they peer out of these dingy warehouse type environments and everything's like red and dusty and hot outside and blowing winds. And it's called venusification. There is a program, and if you want to talk about this, I can get down deep and dirty. It's called venusification of the planet. I'm not going to open that topic and ruin this one for you, but that's the plan. And I can tell you we're right on target to reach that level. And
Mm.
the only way that's going to save it is to put the microbes in the soil. It's not about me. I want you to hear that. It's not about me. It's about our future as a humanity. We're sick and tired as a humanity. We don't have any living microbes. We don't have the trace minerals and selenium in our food, the foundation of health. We don't have it. We
Mm.
haven't had it for decades,
Right.
probably generationally. And here we are.
Right.
We are not going to get through this easily. So it's either put microbes back in your soil, but who's going to go out there and make soil? Who's got the space? Who's got the time and the money? No one. So just
Right.
do your little thing on your square meter of earth, put the microbes back in there. And eventually the mycelium network will join them all up and we can have a future for our grandkids.
Oh my
They
God.
can actually eat from the ground.
Right?
instead of some lab.
Oh my gosh. That's so powerful. I mean, and so you could do anything, but you're doing this because sorry, I have an itch.
I
Because
got
you
nothing else
believe in
to
it.
do.
I have nothing else to
I
do.
got nothing else to do. My partner died a few years ago, and my son works for in another part of Australia, and he's at that age now where he's trying to build a life, and he's busy because it's a kind of a corporate job. So, and I know one day he's going to be coming in
I was
back
gonna
with the.
say, are you gonna try to get him to take it on? I mean, someone's gotta,
No,
right?
he'll just make up his mind because it's in his DNA. He won't be able to help himself.
Right.
But it's if I didn't do this and I on my deathbed, I'm thinking about my life and I had a choice to make, I think I would die with a broken heart or something. I don't know what the message is here, except I already knew, I know, and I did nothing. So that would be that would be the biggest sin of all. I know and I do. I work hard because there's not enough years in me to get this message out. That's why I have to get to people like Bobby Kennedy or, the leaders in the field, because there's not enough years in me. I can't be running around in a fishbowl.
Right.
People start things like this in their 20s. Well, I'm already halfway through my 60s. I'm nearly 70. So I need all the help I can get to get this message out. And that's why, Amy, I truly, from the bottom of my heart and soil, I want to say thank you very much.
Your heart and soil. You are
Yeah.
so welcome. I'm so thrilled to share this because I think that I love that. I mean, it is your heart. This is your heart. I mean, I think that you could be doing anything, but you're this is going to be your legacy because this is your family that has built this and you're carrying that on and you're working so hard to share it for other people because
So the brand EarthFood in the social media, I try and put educational things, and it's all called Your EarthFood in all the socials, where yourearthfood.com is the website. The product is called EarthFood, um, and it's a brand. I understand it. But we're a brand. We are the people's solution from our solution. And we take it from the grassroots. We take it, we're ethical and grounded. We're on the floor with the people, we're on the ground with them, and we work with them. We work in community gardens. We are part of Food is Free project. I believe food should be free. I will plant a bloody papaya tree, or what do you call them, pawpaws or something. I will plant them in the footpath out the front. I will plant food in a roundabout, in a street. I plant food anywhere because at the end of the day, I've always got a pocket full of seeds, and it's just a matter of putting it down and spraying it once.
right.
And if everybody did that, we wouldn't have any problems at all. You can dig up a brick in a footpath and put a plant in that little tiny space. Folks, it's not hard. Really, it's not. Save your seeds. Seeds are worth money in the future. You won't be able to get any. We have seedless grapes, seedless tomatoes, seedless. We now have potatoes without eyes. Your russet potatoes to make your McDonald beautiful bouquet of French fries are filled with poison.
Mm. There are potatoes that are now grown without to not have eyes.
Yeah,
Wow, that's wild. That's
it's to stop you from growing food. You won't have the opportunity. And not only that, it's GMO food. It actually changes the structure of your DNA. Your body is designed to process foods. If you're not eating foods that make the process, the DNA repeat itself. So your liver replaces every, what, 6 months, and I don't know the facts on this off the top of my head. Your whole body replaces itself every 12 months. Your bones and your brain, everything replaces through your DNA. Well, guess what? If you're eating stuff that's GMO'd, you're not getting the DNA that you are. You're turning into something else.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Think
God.
about it. Join the dots. Yeah. I mean, if God didn't make it, don't eat it.
True. Wow.
It's that serious. Yeah.
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 But I love, I mean, I feel bad that you're working so hard, but I love that you do it for other people. I love, I just love the heart behind it. And so did you think about doing anything else ever? Just
Oh,
curious.
yeah, I've had other careers. Um, you know, I actually started my career at Smithsonian Institute, National Geographic,
That's right.
and I started there, and then I came back and I was creative director at Queensland National Parks and Wildlife Service. I've made documentaries, I've published books, mostly natural history. And being a natural history educator on and off for 40 years, I've been a struggling single mum. My partner died. I've had businesses, lost businesses. There are only different types of ones. I was in the wealth industry for a little while, and all of this was bubbling in the background, and I didn't really. It was almost like, let me say, it was almost like the universe took everything away from me. So there was nothing for me to be distracted. I had to do this. This is what I was born for. This is my contract to be on planet Earth.
Wow.
I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I just thought it's easier if I just, worked with these people over here, or I did something here, or I got, worked in the construction industry for a while as an interior designer. I actually did the New York School of Interior Design course.
Oh wow. So you
Yeah, before
you had
computers.
considered you had done other things and you were trying to avoid doing earth food, but then it just became apparent that that was your
That was it.
purpose. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're so educated on it. So that's just like it's so impressive. It's so impressive to me. Like just how much you know.
It's my bag.
That's my bag. Um,
It's my lot in life.
I guess so. Wow. I mean, you can't like we were saying, like you can't unsee this information. Like you can't not know that.
That's
Um,
why I say to people, for every one time that you go into one of those big corporations where they've got shareholders, run a mile. All you're doing is you're taking away from American small family business to be able to survive and thrive. You've got to start buying from your local farmers, volunteer, work on it. They might need help with their admin. They might need help to lay hay. It doesn't matter. Roll up. You should have like mini buses of families going out for a weekend, um, working on the farm. Do it, talk to the farmers. What can we do to help you? These guys are not rich, I can tell you.
right.
They are struggling. You want to eat well, you got to participate, you got to stand up. You want to be part of the Maha movement, every single one of you. It's about time. You've let this go on your watch, America. You've let this go on your watch. Now you've got people in leadership who are going to try and make a difference. You've got to stand up. You've got to get out of your lounge chair, away from your movie thing, and get your hands dirty. It's not going to kill you. It'll probably make you feel better.
I was just gonna say, yeah, especially with the microbes and the grounding and just being a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know so many people, so many who have, they're working in the garden, they break a nail down to the quick, they've caught themselves on some metal or something, they've hurt themselves, they've got covered in mosquitoes or midges, or, walked through spider webs and sweated and sweat and got sunburnt, and they come in, have a shower, and they feel so bloody good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I am such a fan of farmers and I help them out as much as I can. I give them I give them all my money. But if we can help them with this even, um, to help them to grow more and grow easier with like less water and, less of the pesky bugs and stuff like that, like that would be a huge help. And, without the farmers, we don't have food. Like the food is grown somewhere on some
Yeah,
farm.
it's not here. And it's probably grown in some lab type situation, in some ultra processed. But here's the thing about farmers, they get credit up until harvest for the product they use. Well, I can't afford to do that. So, the big ag cartels, they will say, well, you don't have to pay us until you harvest. Well, that could be 4, 6 months or even a year. So they're caught up with their money. Just to replant, they'll need like $250,000, $500,000 just to replant.
Hmm.
And they can't, and they have to use these seeds because, you've all heard about that story about that particular court case. I'm sure you have. If you haven't, write me a note. Um, I'm going to be careful. Honestly, there'll be a bullet between my eyes or I'll be in jail. I've already had a bit of a run out when there was some work that we did over there, and that's another story another time. But anyway, um, so each one of these ones is a minimum of 2 years trial. We just don't fill in forms and a credit card number and then we get them. This is like 2 years minimum. And one
That's
of them was
2 years
done
worth.
in each one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're like, that's 14 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And, like there's big stories I could tell you, which wouldn't go down well on a nice little family podcast, would it? Anyway, I know you've got to go soon, Amy, but I just wanted to say thanks very much for having us on. We totally appreciate it. And looking forward to, uh, anybody who send me your inquiries or whatever, happy to help. That's my job. My job's, I'm employed by Mother Nature, and I'm I'm the people's solution with
Oh,
EarthFood,
Lucian. Oh my goodness. Well, so
naturally better.
yeah, I'm employed by Mother Nature. I love that. Uh, I mean, I'm super grateful that you've spent this time with me. But so what does the word sustainability mean to you, Bronwyn?
Ooh, I don't actually like that word
Yeah.
because it comes from organizations who are controlling narrative to suit themselves as opposed to what suits the people. And it's part of the red, green, and red tapes that a lot of people come across. And often it's sustainability policies are written by people who don't have a clue really. Um, I to me it from a microbial point of view, sustainability means self-farming, self-making, heavy heavy work done by the tiniest things on the planet, tiniest entities, the living microbe.
Hmm.
Sustainability is about being within a healthy system, and that includes ourselves as being healthy.
Hmm.
So I take a completely different slant on it than what the narrative is. But
Sure.
you'll find out a lot about me anyway.
Yeah.
I am an odd fish out of water.
I wouldn't have you any other way, Bronwyn. And so you're everywhere at your Earth Food, right? It's not Earth Food anywhere else. It's just your Earth Food wherever you're found. And
Yep.
information links will be in the show notes, you guys. So definitely check it out. This is going to be a game changer, I think. I mean, really. And I can't wait to get some on my red clay soil.
Yeah, send me your address, mate. No worries. Happy to oblige.
But yeah, Bronwyn Holm, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and sharing this message of hope, message of growth and health. it's so important, and I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful to know you now, that our paths crossed and that we get to have this conversation and share this information. And thank you so much for all you're doing. I mean, that's you're working really hard and you're doing good work.
And I think I found another Earth sister on the planet, so I'm really grateful. I collect people.
I collect people too.
All right.